my grandfather was both venture capitalists, so that was the last thing I wanted to do. But I wanted to start businesses like you guys have. And I got a few going, and then I thought, there's just too many businesses out there. And I just loved it so much, and I didn't have enough time in the day. And then I found that venture capital was very well suited for me. And then I was able to take advantage of a program that the government had, and still have, but it's not quite the same, called the SBIC program, where I was able to borrow 3 times as much money as I put up, as long as I put it into a lot of startups. And that's how I got into the venture business. And when I got started, I went around knocking on doors that had something software on them. And the receptionist was always trained to send me away. And I said, but wait, I'm here to give them money. And then they let me in, and then I kind of come and pitch them on the idea that they might take some venture capital for their money. Things have changed quite a bit since then. And we've had a wild set of fun experiences. And one was these 2 young guys came into our office, and they said, hey, we're going to put free email on the web. And I said, and then? And they said, oh, that's just it. We're going to do free email on the web. I said, but you need to make money. And they said, we'll make it up on volumes. And we were so intrigued that we funded them anyway. And then they came to us on the first board meeting, and they said, so it's up. And we said, what's up? And they said, well, it's up. You can do email on the web. And we said, well, that's great. Now, how are you going to get the word out? How are you going to tell people about it? And they said, well, we'll get TV ad time and big billboards on 101, and we're ready to go. And I said, wait a second, we gave you like $100,000, and that'll be a microsecond on TV, or you can put an ad up and you'd have to pull it right down on 101. They said, can't you just get it out to all those people that are on that internet thing? And they said, no, that would be spamming. And so that was a new word for me. And I said, well, if I send you an email, and then you send one to her, and she sends it to her friend, can't you get a persistent message that says, P.S., I love you, get your free email at Hotmail? And they looked at me and they thought, of all the investors in the world, why did we end up with this guy? And I kept pounding the table, and finally they said, okay, we'll do it, but no P.S. I love you. Man, to this day, I believe that we would have a much more peaceful and loving world if they had stuck with a P.S. I love you. But they did put, get your free email at Hotmail, and it spread to 11 million users in 18 months. And I wanted to show you how to do this. Okay, so if we could have you stand, you're manning the camera. Okay, if we could have you stand up and then high five the person next to you, and everybody you can, as quickly as you possibly can. And as soon as you've been high-fived, stand up and start high-fiving people. Okay, you ready? Go. And I'll count. Okay, this group got to India over here. China is just waking up over here. Netherlands. That's a first. Okay, and we finally got to Poughkeepsie back here. Okay, so what I just displayed, that was about 40, 50 seconds of viral marketing. And that was the beginning of viral marketing. And congratulations to all of you. So the idea is that things were able to spread very quickly. And that opened up whole new worlds for us. It meant geographic borders were going to fall because we could now communicate with people that were half the world away without doing much but sending them a quick message. We could keep in better touch with people because of that. And then I started to think about it, and I said, well, gosh, I'm in the venture capital business. This means everybody's going to know everything very quickly. And so great entrepreneurs can happen from anywhere. And so we actually spread out and started the DFJ network that would allow people to fund companies anywhere in the world, and that did benefit us, and I'll get into that a bit. But then I started to think about how this turned the world on its head. Governments now were going to have to compete for the people for people to work with them. Governments it was going to have to be a competitive governance situation. They were going to have to compete for the great minds and the capital and the businesses of the world, and there they were. They were in an old position where they were the king of everything they purveyed, and all of a sudden they had to go from buying to selling. They had to convince us to go to their country. And that's starting to happen. And what's really cool is all this communication has allowed all the bad governments of Egypt and Tunisia and Ukraine and whatever to fall, because people have instant messaging, and they have Facebook, and they have Hotmail, and they have Skype, and they have ways of communicating and saying, hey, this government really doesn't work as well as that one in Singapore. Why don't we do something like that? And are these the guys to do it? No, maybe we should overthrow them or vote them out or do away with them. It's really exciting. It's changing the way the whole world operates, and it's happening so fast we don't even notice the change. And that's sort of another theme, and that is that change now is happening faster and faster. So Moore's Law had said that $1,000 worth of compute power doubled every 18 months. Now it's like every 14 months. And that's accelerating. So if you think back on all the great inventions that have changed our lives in like the last 150 years, indoor plumbing, electricity, the car, the plane, the bomb, the pill, the MRIs, the internet, the cell phone, the social media, the search engines. All that has changed our lives immeasurably in the last 150 years. Imagine 150 years ago, which doesn't seem like that long ago. They didn't have any of those things. Now, go forward 15 years. That same amount, if you project out, that same amount of change is going to happen in the next 15 years. We are all going to have to adapt much, much faster. And then the 2 years after that, that same amount of change will happen. So if you're an entrepreneur, imagine what that's like. That means that if you are just an incremental improvement over existing technologies, you are not shooting high enough. And you will be rolled over by new technologies that happen so quickly that you will be left in the dust. So if you are doing something that is just a minor derivative of something that's already out there, it is probably not a big enough fall. So think in terms of, that may be 2 years out. Think 5, 10, 15 years out in creating your business, because it's got to feel like you are a real outlier now, so that in 5 or 10 years, the rest of the world can catch up to you, and you'll be in a much better position. So entrepreneurship is more than just let's go start a company. It's really, let's project what the future is going to look like. Go out many moves. If you're chess players, go out 15 moves ahead. And then figure out what the world's going to look like then. Are we going to be in hovercraft or flying cars, or are we going to have holodecks or communicators like Star Trek, or what's our world going to be like? So that's something I would think about just generally. Now I want to take you on a little tour around the world. I just go to a few countries because I've had really kind of fun experiences as I've traveled around, knowing that the world was going to open up, and knowing that entrepreneurship was going to be prevalent everywhere. I went to China, and I had been there before with my dad about 30 years ago, and we landed in the only, and took the only car on the only paved road to the only Americanized hotel with the toilets that I understood in all of Beijing. And that was 28 years ago. I went back to China because I was curious about it, and I discovered that somebody had started a chocolate company that got to be $90 million in revenue, and then it got nationalized. The government took it over. And then I went back to China just because I thought, there's still something going on here. And I took this tour from Shanghai to Hangzhou, and it was like this 3-hour drive looking out the window, seeing all the concrete tilt-ups, and they're all 2-story concrete tilt-ups. Everybody lived in a 2-story concrete tilt-up. And then all of a sudden I saw one with blue windows and a spire and a little paved driveway. I thought, well, that's interesting. They've got a different setup than the rest of these people. And then I went a little further, I saw another one, blue windows, spire, driveway. And then I saw a block with 3 blue windows, 3 spires, and 3 driveways all connected. And I thought, wow, that blue window salesman is going to make a fortune. But the other thing I thought was, maybe I should take another look at this country. And I met with some very high-up ministers, and I said, I'd never invest in your country. This is sort of my strategy. I'd never invest in your country. Well, why not? Well, because this guy had his chocolate company nationalized. I mean, why would anybody want to put money into a country that just lets you build up your business and then nationalize it? I think they said, well, how do we get more American investment in China? And I said, well, you make it so that the first people who come over here make a fortune. And then everybody else is going to come in looking for their fortune. And they said, very good. And that was kind of the end of that conversation. And then I said, we did set up a fund for an international fund. And so I thought, well, let's make a few investments in China. And the first 3 went to companies where we felt this would be very secure. People who came to us and said that they had very good government connections. And we lost all our money in all 3 of those companies. But then we thought, well, what do we really do? Well, we invest in guys like you who are just driven, energetic, want to change the way that the world works. They want to open the world up to new thinking. They want to try new things. So we bet on a few people like that. And out of that came Baidu, and Sky, and Focus Media, and Guangzhou. Some unbelievable, and YiPei, some unbelievably great successes, venture capital successes. And so the Chinese minister hasn't nationalized those, and somehow we've been involved in a whole slew of money going back and forth to China. Now I'll take you to Ukraine. I met President Yushchenko in Ukraine. I met one of you guys. Who's from Ukraine? Yeah, there's like 4 or 5 great entrepreneurs coming out of Ukraine. And I went to Ukraine. I said the same thing to him. He, by the way, was a part of a revolution that used instant messaging. The Orange Revolution used instant messaging to keep the pressure on the capital so that they finally caved. They used instant messaging to say, hey, we need more pizza and beer in section 38B, and we we need flowers for the girls to put into the guns. And he kept the pressure on, and eventually that government folded, and Yushchenko became one of the presidents. And and I said, well, I never invest here. And he said, why? And I said, because it takes 6 months and 23 bureaucrats before you can even incorporate in this country. And he said, that will be 1 bureaucrat, 1 week. And okay, it never really happened, but at least the idea was that he was competing for you guys. He was competing to try to get more business, more entrepreneurship, more money into his country. And now I'll tell you another interesting story. And I left Ukraine, and I had to call my friend Tony Perkins, who set up a great conference like this. And I was supposed to speak at that conference, and I said, Tony, I'm not going to be able to speak. I'm so sorry. And he said, why? And I said, well, because I've got this board meeting at Skype in Tallinn, Ukraine, at the same time as your conference. And I said, but what if we do it by video conference? And Tony, being a risk taker that he is, he said, sure, we'll do it by video conference. And so we did it. We set the whole thing up. I said, okay, we're going to do it with video conference. And he said, hey, can you get that guy Nicholas to come join you, the president of Skype? Can you get him to come join you and do it like an interview, a fireside chat? And I said, oh yeah, no problem. And so I said, okay, Nicholas, can you set this whole thing up? We need a video conferencing system. At that time, by the way, Skype was just voice, and there were maybe 3 million users and about 200,000 simultaneous users. And I said, yeah, can you set this up? And on video conferencing was like this. But still, it was probably going to be okay, and we kind of worked it out. And so I'm sitting down and getting ready to do the interview with Nicholas. And Nicholas goes, I said, okay, I guess we're ready. And Nicholas goes, okay, throw the switch. And I said, what? And he said, oh, I forgot to tell you, we've been doing some work in the back. We have an alpha program of potentially doing video over the internet just the way we're doing audio. And I said, yeah, that's great, but how about this video conferencing system? He goes, oh, yeah, we got it. And I looked at him like, what? And then we had our video conference, and it was perfect, and it was beautiful. And then I said, how did you do that? And Nicholas said to me, and he said, well, we cut off about 100,000 phone conversations. So that we get the bandwidth to send that kind of beautiful video to Palo Alto. So entrepreneurs get very creative, and if your Skype system goes down, you know something interesting is going on in the lab. With that, I think I'll leave you with a couple of thoughts. Here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for one of a few things. I'm looking for a revolution. I want to back a revolution. I want to back somebody who's going to completely change an industry. The industry, everything that we think is the way it will be and always has been and always will be, I want those things. I want somebody who's going after those things. And those are the people I want to back. Think about what Skype did to what the telephone company was. Telephone used to be this thing that was hardwired to your wall. And think of what Hotmail did to the post office. The post office used to be the way we sent letters. We used to handwrite them on pieces of trees. And think of what Google has done to the library. I mean, the library it's out there in the web. This is what I'm looking for. Something. Or think what Facebook has done to the neighborhood. Neighborhood used to be the guy, either next door or down the street or over here, and those are the people you went and played with. And now, your friends are out there, anywhere, and it's a different neighborhood. So I'm looking for revolutions. I'm looking for problem solvers. I'm looking for people who say, I was in that company And it didn't work, but it was because this guy did this instead of this. And I think if everybody does this, it might work out better. So I'm looking for people who are solving big problems. Big problems, if you're looking for a big problem to solve, listen to a politician. He will tell you all the problems that are big problems that we have. And then you can go and say, well, that's the one I'm going to go solve. I mean, Tesla is solving all of the problems the politicians have been ramming about for years. It's an all-electric car. It goes faster than a gas-powered car. It's a great thing. And then the last thing is, for those of you who are in finance, the balance sheet. Look for companies where your balance sheet and your income statement have a whole bunch of zeros in them. Now, they're not under sales, and not under profits, and not under cash, but all the other places. Think of what Amazon did to the balance sheet. Amazon had an unlimited inventory, but had $0 in inventory. And they had all of these sales, but they had $0 in accounts receivable. They got their money up front, and they delivered their books later. That was a great business. Hotmail had 0 marketing expense. You guys just did the marketing for Hotmail. So that kind of business where somehow you're able to cut R&D to 0, or marketing to 0, or whatever, just by the nature of your business, that can be a real advantage out there in the marketplace. So with that, I want you to all remember that entrepreneurs are great heroes. They take long odds at an extraordinary outcome, and they make all our lives better, create jobs, and you guys are entrepreneurs, so you're heroes. Give yourselves a pat on the back, and what do I do for heroes? I sing to them. Now, I don't have any backup here, so it's going to have to go a cappella, and if I forget a verse, you're on your own. But this is called The Wristmaster, and I wrote it because I won an auction item, and it was, you write the lyrics, and then this guy writes the song. This guy has been at the top. I'm not supposed to tell who it is because he has an agent who's just, an agent I don't particularly care for. And that agent has made, so I can't tell you who he is, but he was at the top of the charts for 4 decades. So it narrows it down. Okay. Invested all his mattress money. Divorced his hometown. We'll start over. Hi, I'm Tim Draper. Invested all his mattress money. Divorced his hometown honey. Something else. Scraping up his alimony. Friends think he's a little funny. Needs a world-class CEO. Just another million or so. Get into some real cash flow. So tears and sweat and IPO. For 15 years he's been outgunned. Bankers demanding blood refund. Companies looking moribund. Even Draper will not fund. He is the risk master, lives fast, drives faster, skates on the edge of disaster. He is the risk master. He's got a mission, company vision, an artist's ambition, got intuition, fearless and free employee. No guarantee for the corporate escapee. Team fights on against the trend. Had to lay off his best friend. Called a recession. Seems like depression. Chapter 7. Is this the end? Then a salesman shouts, "We got it! the company's gonna show a profit. To think the papers rang quixotic. The sky is open, astronautic. He is the risk master, lives fast and drives faster, skates on the edge of disaster. Like this song, he is the risk master. At last they see a vision unfurl. Cash flow landslide. Now everyone wants a piece of his hide. Press wants him fried. Court wants him tried. Anyone this rich must have lied. He is the risk master. Lives fast and drives faster. Skates on the edge of disaster. He is the risk master. That is for you.